Yes, y'all, from the Esports Arlington Arena here in beautiful Arlington, Texas. It is Texas Football Today, live from the THSCA Leadership Summit 2025. My name is Greg Tepper. I'm the managing editor of Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine and TexasFootball.com. Thank you for spending part of your day. Thanks for that. Thanks for spending part of your day with us, whether you're watching us live at TexasFootball.com, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all the places, or you listen to us on the podcast, which you can subscribe to on the podcast vendor of your choice. Either way, thank you for doing your part to support your local mediocre internet show. I am sitting over there at a different table because we're in a different place, making it sound good. She's the Dutch of the Dorks, and when she turns on her microphone, it's really hot.
Yeah. No, what ended up happening was
it's Ashley Pickle, by the way.
Hi, friends. Welcome in. I went to lean in, and my microphone just absolutely rammed into the side of the system, so that's what that loud noise was.
Love it.
I apologize. It better than my face. Hi.
Well,
okay.
Well, it is Monday, February 24th, 2025, and we have got a star-studded lineup of guests here at the THSCA Leadership Summit 2025, because there's just stars all over the place, from hither and from yon. And one of the guys that I think that we're going to kick things off with is a guy we would describe from being from yon. We're pleased to be joined by the head coach of those Midland Legacy Rebels, Coach Clint Hartman. Coach, it's good to see you, my friend.
Very good to see y'all.
Thanks for making the trip, although I understand you had a previous engagement. You were, normally it would be Midland Legacy head coach Clint Hartman, which is enough, and that's a great title. But how about keynote speaker Clint Hartman here at the THSCA Leadership Summit?
Was blessed to get awarded the Coaching Beyond the Game Award and got a chance to speak. And anytime we can do anything to promote THSCA or anything we can do, I'm all in. But it was an honor. It's been a 25-plus year deal as a head coach, coaching and being a head coach for 18. And my wife's the real stud that's in this deal. So she drove us here, thank God.
Wow, really?
Yep.
Okay, well, that's,
get home safe.
Smart. So can you tell us a little bit about, I know you went for approximately 30 minutes, which you hit the under for me. I thought you might still be talking, honestly. But can you give us kind of what was your message when you got up there in front of what is a really big crowd here at the Esports Arena?
My message was, in today's age, if you knew what your words meant, how much would you put into them, or you thought. So I shared some coaches that coached me beyond the game. And I started with an English teacher where I was, it was old school. We were reading, and so I counted, and I was reading my paragraph because I knew I was going to be on the 8th one. And then right before, somebody had a short paragraph, so she said, read that one. And I was a kid that was yes or no, sir, fake it till you make it. And before, nobody really knew about dyslexia. And so she said, you're going to, Clint, you're reading. I said, no, I'm not. And she goes, yeah, you are. And I said, no, I'm not. And so she held me afterwards. She said, why don't you want to do it? I said, well, the words jump. I don't read very well. I don't want to make fun of me. And so she got help. She found it, and that helped me more than she knew. Costa Fuente, my defense coordinator in high school, one day he was taking me home when I was a sophomore and said, hey, I think you'd be a good coach. And, I don't think he knew that. I said, well, what's that mean? And he goes, well, it means you got to be a teacher. Mm-hmm. And so I started researching it, and my parents drove a diesel. My parents sold freight on a diesel, and my brothers that's what everybody did. And so I never really had thought about going to college and doing that. So that, and then Coach Morgan comes in, and of course he's my new coach in his senior year, and you think, well, they ain't going to play the seniors, that's what everybody thinks as a kid. They want to win too. But he starts talking to me about being a leader, and he starts talking to me, and he finds out we're kind of on hard times, and I got some holes in my shoes, and he buys me a pair of Rydell cleats, not Jordans, but some Rydell cleats, right? But my feet didn't hurt. So he had a hook in my mouth, and I was in. And then Coach Keenum helped me through when I had cancer in high school and college, and kept me in school at Sul Ross, and then later on I ended up transferring, playing at Hardin-Simmons with Jimmy Keelan, and he really taught me about being a man and loving people, and then he said, I won't accept you for the man you are today, only the man you can become. And a lot of those lessons have come through, and so then I kind of tied it up with a lesson that, you coach for a while, and I've had tons of these lessons. But there's a young man named Desmond Jackson, and I talked to him last week and said, and I cried and told him what I was going to say. And so Desmond, when I went to Seguin, they hadn't been very good. I was a defensive coordinator. We were their fourth staff in 4 years. And so I went to the middle schools and I saw these good players, and those kids, everybody in the environment and the coaches were negative. And those kids won't make it. They'll get kicked off, blah, 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 blah. And I started going, well, why? Why can't we save these guys? And so I gave him stuff to do. He'd gotten a little trouble. It's not bad trouble. I had to suspend him for some games and things like that. And all of a sudden, I told you he was already 365, but he started staying at our house a lot, me and my wife. And he's so gentle with my two babies, my older one who now coaches, Madison and then Cody, and he could rock them to sleep. And I saw this gentle kid, and then I saw on the field he's always mad. And so one day we have OU there and Texas there, and he hits this kid and knocks him out. And I'm so mad at him. And I I kick him out of practice, and I get him in the car, and I got to take him home. He's staying with us anyway. And I said, why do you do that? Why? And he goes, I don't think sometimes as a coach we think about the why the kid. He says, Coach, OU and Texas was there. I said, I know they were there. I told you they were going to be there. Mm-hmm. And he goes, well, I want to play there. And I want them to remember it. Coach, this is my only way out. So I think if we'll take back and we tell them in 2 chairs at our school. First chair on the field, that's black and white. We're going to do it this way. Off the field, I think the worst way you can treat a kid is all the same, okay? Because they all tick differently. What makes Clint Hartman tick, it's going to make not the next one tick. But you got to spend time, and so we have some things that we do to get to know them, and then we can get to know what makes that kid tick and what turns that kid off. But for me, the biggest thing is, and that's kind of tied it up quickly as I can, but at the end, I talked about how amazing the THSCA went towards female leadership in LaQuisha Dickerson and Amanda Wolfstram, and my wife's been a coach for, which now that light for Madison to be a board member and those things are there, okay? And then like a girl like Madison Kaler who spoke at the regional meeting, she was in the gym at Seguin High School when we were coaching basketball. We never knew. So my whole deal was, I don't think it's a sin to try to save a kid and lose them. I think it's a sin to never try. Mm-hmm. And so those guys, I don't think they knew, but the coolest thing was me calling them and saying, Coach, I'm going to speak about you at this clinic, and they cried and I cried. But I think all of us in life, we've all had those moments where you're going down this road and it puts you back on the right path. And I thank Coach LaFuente and Coach Morgan and Coach Keenum and Coach Keelan and my right-hand guy, Coach Maldonado, who helped me through dyslexia as I got older and told me he was a smart guy. And one day I'm trying to read he shows up early and I'm reading an English book. I mean, who's doing that, right? And he goes, what are you doing? And I said, man, if I'm be a head coach, I'm going to have to be able to type and send out stuff. And he goes, Clint, talk. He goes, write like you talk. He goes, you're intelligent. Stop trying to overthink this thing. But he was a guy that I trusted. And so I know he didn't think that was going to mean nothing that day, but it sure did. And I think I got more stories like that. But the big thing is, we're going to get beat down a little bit. Every parent that ever has a meeting, it's always been about playing time. They can always say it's not about playing time. It always comes back to playing time. But we got people getting out of this profession because of that. And I think that's a travesty because, as the guy after me spoke about, the Twin Thieves, he was really good. And the bottom 10% that are always negative, they're going to go away. Mm-hmm. They're going to give in eventually. So I'm going to concentrate them other 90.
What I think is so fascinating about events like this, like the THSCA Leadership Summit, is, it's clinic season, right? There's a lot of coaches going around these clinics, and you can go to a clinic and you can learn about blitz packages out of the 3-3-5 stack, right? You can go out there and be like, hey, this is how you run a hurry-up offense here in the 2-minute drill. And here, the Leadership Summit is focusing on what a lot of coaching is, which is like 2% of your job is calling plays, right? Maybe 2%? Maybe. You know what I mean? Maybe. But this is focusing on that other 98%. And I talk about this with folks all the time. It's like, when you're a head football coach, like, your job is so little about what's actually happening on Friday night and what's happening on the other, whatever the amount of hours in a week, minus the 3 hours that the game is happening on a Friday night. And that's, I think, what's happening out there in the arena there, and with these speakers like yourself, like Steve Jones, who did a fantastic job, like Stephen Mackey, who's coming up here on the show a little bit later. And that's why I think it's fascinating about an event like this, is that where there's other places you can go, and they're great events where you can cultivate those X's and O's. And here we're cultivating that other 98% of the job. I
think you said something that I always talk about. I've had well over 20, 30 people come visit us to talk football, and they always ask about plays. And they always ask about this and that. and they never ask about character development, how much we take care of them. We've been blessing this year we have a 16-minute character development thing, time with all our kids right before athletics, and we use it every day. And, treat women with respect, all kind of things that we use, right? But I think what you just said, most parents on Friday night think about the game as they buy their ticket, okay? And there's been 90 hours of preparation before you get to that game. And people always say, just call plays, baby. And that's what people think it's about. And my mother, God rest her soul, she used to be the same one out there going, run the ball. And what play you want me to run? Who do you want me to run it at, right? But we'd run it, and she goes, why don't you run the ball more? I told you, and they got some guys up there. We didn't think we could move, Mom. But that's the majority of people. I think if there's anything I could press upon parents, or that really and truly, when there's an old proverb, when the elephants, fight, the grass gets trampled. With the kids, the grass. The parents and the coaches, the elephants. And I think if I could ever press upon people, it's not personal. They always think it's personal. It's never personal. None of us take a job to hurt kids or any of that kind of stuff. But it can be very, very detrimental to the relationship between you and that kid, and then you can't get them to do things, and then that's going to affect playing time. That's going to happen. But for these things, like you said, I think this is an amazing time. We're tired. Spring break's almost here, and sometimes need a little juice to get going. I know I've come to it all the time. I've had a lot of awards in my life, but that coaching beyond the game, that with Grant Taft, and I remember watching the first time, and I saw Glenn West and the head coach Terrell get it, and I was thinking, well, that'd be pretty cool to get, right? But I tell you, it doesn't happen without Ginger Hartman. I mean, she's been a part of everything, and then Frank Maldonado's been with me for 23 years. Just got the Broyles Award as a top assistant in the state of Texas. So we had a lot of support and help around us, but this thing is really good for that type of stuff. And I think guys that you look at that are perennial powers are here. There's a reason they're here.
Midland Legacy head coach Clint Hartman joined us here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation, hashtag T of the day. All right, Coach, let's talk a little bit of ball. Midland Legacy is one of the few programs in the state that I never have to look up your score on a Friday night, because I know whether you won or lost, because it's a binary system for me. I will either get a text or I won't. If I don't get a text, things didn't go well for the Rebs.
Didn't go well for the Rebs.
But if I do get a text, I know things went well for the Rebs, and the text always says the same thing. Rebs are back, baby.
Yeah. So
on a scale of not back to back, how back are the Rebs right now?
We've been the one 6A program out there that's played in the third round, I think 4 times in the last 5 years or 6 years, and it's like Groundhog Day. You play Euless Trinity, you play Lamar, you play South Lake. It's kind of that deal. And we've in Allen, and we had them down, and they came back and beat us. People always talk about can it ever happen out there? I firmly believe it can. I have no problem saying that, and that's our goal, to win the state championship. Now, there's a lot of things got to happen, but also I think people think that it's easy. They go, well, it's easy, to go get past the third round and that kind of stuff. Well, none of it's easy. Getting past the first round ain't easy, But I think that we have a really good group coming back. We were pretty young. We had some injuries and that kind of stuff. And for me, I never make excuses. I'm not very happy. We won 6 district titles in a row, and then last year we took second. So I'm still not happy. And we're having a great off season. But what's not going to happen is we're not going to get out coached, and we're not going to get out worked. We're not going to get out toughed. We're not going to do those things. Now we got to get some breaks and all that kind of stuff and stay healthy. Everybody has to do that stuff. But I think that we've been back. I think it's hard to have sustained success, which we've had, and people have now, as kids have starting to play for us, they forgot when I got there they were 1-9, 3-7 in previous 2 years before I got there. And kids start thinking, well, this just happens sometimes, and you got to re-up them. Like Nick Saban said, sometimes you got to lose. I mean, I think this is a big. I think we're pretty hungry right now and pretty not happy. It's like me, and I think your teams take on your persona and that kind of stuff.
When you take a look at this 2025 team, because now you're getting beaten down by people for questionnaires.
Yep.
Who could that be?
Who could that be? When you take, what has you fired up? What has you excited about this 2025 group? What about this group?
These seniors have always been successful in the 7th and 8th grade. They either lost to the other middle school or not. They didn't lose a track meet, and there's a whole lot of talent in it. But what makes me more fired up about it is that I've had really good teams there, okay? And the teams have been really good to love each other, and this team loves each other. It's a little different, and people don't really take that into account. You just look at X's and O's and players and stuff like that. But like Nick Moore is I think one of the best DBs in the state of Texas, and he's never said that. I'll say that because I've coached him for a living. He's a great receiver. Then we moved to DB because we had to in the middle of the year, and he said, yes, sir. And right before we played Lake Travis, and I said, only thing I can tell you guys, I don't know if he'll tackle. And I remember the first play of the game, they ran the ball, and he knocked running back, and I said, oh, he'll tackle now. Great player. I think we have a lot of them. Dylan Ramish, our offensive line as a whole is really good. We have a sophomore quarterback who will be a junior who we had to thrust into it because of injuries. And he set the record for the one all-time passing record in a single game at Midland Legacy in Legacy history. And then secondary-wise, I think it's the most talented secondary we've had since I've been there, where we can play some man-to-man and not always have to play zone and come after you a little bit. And then I think that as a group we have a really good staff. I think there's 7 or 8 guys that have been coordinators and head coaches on it, and we've been together for a long time. But I'm fired up, and you better be because we play Allen, in our first 7 games. 6 out of the first 7 games were on the road, and so we play Allen in Dallas, we play Euless Trinity in Dallas, and we play Lake Travis in Austin, and then in Lake Travis, and then we play Abilene High at home, thank God, and then we go play Ruston, Louisiana in Dallas, and then we play San Angelo on the road, and we play Friendship on the road.
So you're easing into this.
Light schedule.
Yeah, exactly. Like kind of going in. So, and then final question for you, because I know there's other people out there more interesting to listen to than me.
Agree.
You've been a head coach here since 2016. From your perspective, what is the biggest difference in this program from the program you took over, which you mentioned, coming off of 1-9 and 4-6, to now is, you got to deal with the Rebs every single year. It may not go, 11, 12 wins, but you got to deal with the Rebs every year. What is that biggest difference between that team, that program you took over and the program as it exists now?
I think there's a mixture of the old and new. I think the basis of our off-season is old school. They were doing it in 1980, pulling tires, overhead ladders, which is a big word for monkey bars. We say that's for insurance purposes, I guess. I learned that in 2001 when I visited Coach Parchman, and we took that, and it worked for me. And I remember when he called me and said, hey, Clint, do you want to get involved in this mess we have? And I said, well, what's wrong with it? I remember saying that. And he said, they can be pushed, Clint. They're tough. I don't think nothing's wrong with it. I think they need to go back to some old school things, and didn't give me much other than that. And I think from where we were then to where we are now is our kids believe they can win. They believe they can, you got to teach them that first, and now when we win, we're not always happy. And when we lose, we're damn sure not happy. But when we win, sometimes it ends with the butt chewing. Because we didn't get the best out of because when you're playing good, you got to still be trying to close the gap between you and the Metroplex. That's just the way it is. Because we're going to have to go through there to do it, right? But I think overall, just belief. I think we have a lot of great support. I think that our staff's been, as a whole, a lot of them together. We lost some head coaches, which you do when you. And that's a good thing. Yeah. But long story short, I think that they believe, and I think our X's and O's and our toughness and our offseason, I think it's there's a reason we're winning. I think everybody tries to figure it out, and I don't mind. I remember all the losses. I don't remember very many of the wins, but we didn't have very many of them, and I think that over time we've sustained success, and that's hard to do.
He's Clint Hartman. He is the head coach of the Midland Legacy Rebels, and I can say it. The Rebs are back, baby.
Rebs are back,
Rebs are back. Coach, appreciate your time, my friend.
Thank y'all very much.
Absolutely. Good to see you, my friend. There he goes, Clint Hartman, head coach of the Midland Legacy Rebels. Rebs are back, baby. We are Texas Football Today. We're here Mondays and Thursdays on TexasFootball.com, talking football in the Lone Star State. You can follow us on Twitter at DCTF. Like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, Instagram.com/Dave Campbell's. And, of course, see us at TexasFootball.com. TexasFootball.com is where you can find complete coverage of high school football, college football, and recruiting all across the Lone Star State. Hope you'll consider going to TexasFootball.com/subscribe to become a Dave Campbell's Texas Football subscriber. You get the 2025 Summer Edition edition of Dave Campbell's Texas Football, which we are currently bullying Clint Hartman to send us his information so we can put it in the magazine. You can get that mailed to you before it hits newsstands if you go to texasfootball.com.
What if you just, hear me out. What if you just put Rebs are back in the capsule?
Like that's the only thing it says?
Yeah.
Well, okay. Love your energy. I love your energy. But we probably need to list some names too.
That's fine. Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, let's
names
get the name,
and then that.
and then just like the entire 2025 notes section will just say Rebs are back, baby, and that's it. Like no analysis or anything. Let's just say Rebs are back. Anyway, TexasFootball.com/subscribe to become a Dave Campbell's Texas Football subscriber. We're here at the THSCA Leadership Summit here in Arlington. We've got a star-studded lineup of guests coming into our booth here at the Esports Arena. There's a big crowd there. We're waiting on our next guest to show up here in just a moment. Before we get to that, do you want to take a quick ad break?
Mm-hmm.
All right. We're going to pay some bills here, but when we come back, we're going to have more guests rolling through the Dave Campbell's Texas Football booth. This is Texas Football Today live at the THSCA Leadership Summit here in Arlington. We'll be back after this quick break.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Potter, Executive Director of Be Well Texas. Too many people are struggling alone these days, and alcohol and drug deaths are increasing. We started Be Well Texas to offer high-quality, science-based addiction treatment and recovery services anywhere, even at home. We provide compassionate, caring support virtually or in person. In many cases, there is no cost for treatment if you don't have insurance. Really. Welcome to Be Well Texas. We're glad you're here.
30-yard line, the 20, the 10.
Hey DFW residents, get your grocery essentials in minutes, not hours or days, with Wing Drone Delivery. Forget about last-minute trips to the store when you need things like cereal for breakfast before school, medicine for a cold, or snacks for a movie night. Wing's drones get you quick, no-contact delivery in as fast as 15 minutes. Say goodbye to last-minute grocery runs and say hello to more of your valuable time. Sign up today.
Back here on Texas Football Today, the THSCA, I almost said coaching school because I'm used to saying that.
Yeah.
The THSCA Leadership Summit here in Arlington here, where behind us there's much more interesting things than just my stupid face going on in the arena behind us, where there is a cavalcade of outstanding speakers here as they learn about leadership, coaches and athletic directors and superintendents from across the state learning about leadership in this event put on by the Texas High School Coaches Association here in Arlington. This is a long-running event. We were here last year doing some interviews with coaches and luminaries from across the state of Texas, and we figured, why not just do a live show? Why not make the whole plane out of the THSCA Leadership Summit? And so here we are. Just had Clint Hartman on. We've got more guests coming here in a little bit. He is our guest right now is on the stage. That's how high profile that is. But this is a big event here, and there's a lot of much more important people than us walking around.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and I think the other thing that people might not realize, because obviously we are Texas Football Today, we are talking to football-centric guests today, but there are a ton of other sport coaches that are here, both from guys and girls sports, and I think that the fundamental takeaway that you can always get is it doesn't matter what you're coaching, it doesn't matter what gender you're coaching, it doesn't matter any of that stuff. Like, leadership is a thing that the THSCA wants to see as just, it's equal. You know, everyone should take something away from this. And I thought it was really interesting when Coach Hartman talked about that. If you miss that, we'll make sure to upload that interview to YouTube. But he was like, this is where it starts. You know, like you said, the 2% is calling plays. 98% of it is growing young men, growing young women. And a lot of these coaches, too, even if they are football coaches, they're athletic directors. So they're overseeing every sport that their school offers, which is something that I still don't think a lot of people have their minds wrapped around.
Yeah, there's a lot of HFC/ADs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Head football coaches and athletic directors. And so one of the things that I think is really interesting here, you mentioned it, that this is the Texas High School Coaches Association. We inherently are going to think of it as a football organization, right? And we think of it certainly in that way. That's wrong. That is wrong. There is a time, certainly, I think in the past, and I think that Joe Martin and Glenn West, who run the THSCA, would tell you that there was a time when it was the good old boys club. You know what I mean?
100%.
It was the old boys club of it's the football coaches. The volleyball coaches can join, but like, what are you doing here? It's football coaches. But they have made great strides. I know the THSCA has made great strides to be more inclusive and make sure that this is for all coaches across the state of Texas. And so you see that across in that crowd out there, which is really, really interesting to see. And I know you were at the Hill Country Clinic recently with WTF. You guys were down there, and I know there's the Coaches' Wives Association, but a lot of them are coaches too.
Yeah, a ton.
It's a coaching family down there, and so that's one of the things that I think is fascinating. Where the THSCA I think has made great strides is the increase in women in the and being in major roles within the THSCA as well. Not just membership, but also like leadership roles.
Well, and that's the funny thing, and I think that we are lucky enough to be surrounded by coaches all the time. And the one thing that I've always taken away from coming to things like this is you might be thinking, okay, what is the producer of Texas Football Today going to take away from something like this? I'm not a coach. I don't do, sports anymore, other than for like recreational fun. But you can sit in that crowd and you can listen to these coaches speak on leadership and all of these different things. And what you'll get out of it is something that you can transfer over into your everyday life, whether you're involved in athletics or not. And I think that speaks so much to why these coaches are here, is they really do build people, and athletics in general builds you to being able to be successful later in life, and knowing how to work with a team, and knowing how to, if you're in management, knowing how to manage a team. And so it's funny that even from a little producer media standpoint, I can go sit there and learn so much from them when it doesn't have anything to do with about X's and O's on the field.
We are here at the THSCA coaching leadership summit. I keep saying it. Coaching school is not until July. I have to remember that. There's like 6 months of experience between time between now and then we're at the THSCA leadership summit here in Arlington. Here we are awaiting our next guest, who is, I believe, walking off the stage right now. He is our next speaker, or speaking, so we're going to let him finish up, although I feel like we are as important as speaking to a large group of people, but that's just
do not.
Okay, well, your mileage may vary. And so we are rocking and rolling here. I want to again invite you to go to texasfootball.com/subscribe. We have a Dave Campbell's Texas Football subscriber. Get the 2025 Summer Edition Dave Campbell's Texas Football mailed to you before it hits newsstands, and Dave Campbell's Texan Live, our streaming platform, with thousands of live events, including
we've got girls and boys playoff games. So basketball.
Yeah,
girls basketball is in their state semifinal round, so that's a little bit of a switch this year if you're unfamiliar with that. The UIL, most of you who are watching know how high school football is broken down into two different divisions in every single classification. Every other sporting event has now followed suit with that. So the state semifinals are a separate round this year. So we've got girls state semifinal games going on Texan Live tonight, and then boys regional semis happening. So super excited. Girls state basketball coming up this weekend. So we're already there. Isn't that crazy?
That is wild. We are now pleased to be joined by a guy who ran off the stage to put on this headset. The man who was just speaking there. He is the official character development, the character development leader of the THSCA.
Yeah,
it's our friend Stephen Mackey.
Hey man.
Hey buddy. Good to see you, pal.
Good to see you.
Doing all right?
Really, really good. Thankful that Ashley let me be on the show.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Tepper says that every time that he comes on the show.
Okay. Oh, right. Not loving how this is starting. Okay. So you just got done speaking out there in front of a throng of people.
Yeah.
I think I'm using that word correctly. A large number of people out there. Give us the Cliff's Notes of what you were talking to those folks about.
Yeah. So today we were talking about the Texas Way, and a year ago at this event we launched the idea that we're going to try to attack sportsmanship. At the time we'd seen that sportsmanship was at an all-time low. Player ejections had more than doubled since 2017. Coach ejections were on the rise. Fan ejections were absolutely out of control. And the UIL, along with the Coaches Association, the ADs Association, and many others, said we've got to do something. And so we threw out this idea that, hey, we're gonna call it the Texas Way, and we're gonna define what it looks like to play, coach, support, and officiate the Texas Way. We're gonna put language around it. We're gonna put tools on it, and then we're gonna go try and increase the quality of sportsmanship, decrease ejections, and strengthen communities, because we know how powerful sports is. And bad sportsmanship takes this great thing of athletics, and instead of strengthening community, it divides it. And so we said we got to do something about that. And
I think it's really important to put a pin on this, because you talk about sportsmanship, and like I grew up and my dad was like, sportsmanship is important. But I think when we talk about the Texas Way, that is putting specific and intentional language on it. It's like, this is what that looks like. It's not just some brave bold thing to be like, hey, be a good dude. Instead, it's like, be a good person. Instead, it's like, no, this is what that looks like. And I feel like that is something that probably has never been done here in the state.
Right. This is, I think, the largest joint initiative in Texas high school sports history. We've got sport-specific associations from UIL all the way down. But what we said was, we've got to give it a specific language, because to your point, what you call good sportsmanship and what I call could be two very different things. And so what we said was, there were three pillars that we wanted to build this on. Number one, a respect for others. And the idea that I'm going to give respect to someone else, my opponent, another coach, an official, because of who I am, not because of what they do. And so what that does is it takes the responsibility of my actions and it puts it on me, rather than saying that person disrespected me, so I get to disrespect them back.
Right.
Or the flip side, they respected me, so then I respect them.
It's not a transaction.
That's right.
Yeah.
This is about who I am, and so my values dictate my actions. So that's number one. And you can see how all of these hit from coach, player, fan, and official. Respect for others. The second is a control of self. We understand that sports is a passionate game. Anger, frustration, emotion. Think about how many hours our coaches put into this. All that our young people go through, the stress, the fear of failure, the pressure of being in front of an entire community. It's hard. And we understand emotions are going to be really going high. So we don't ask that you play without emotion. Rather, we say a control of self is to put boundaries on those emotions. It's to say that there are what we call anger rights. That we have the right to be angry, but we don't have the right to be disrespectful. Or we have the right to get angry, but it's not right to get there quickly. Or we have the right to have anger, but our anger doesn't have the right to have us. So we put these boundaries and we equip students and coaches and officials to live these boundaries so that they know, hey, this much frustration is good, constructive even. This much is deconstructive. And then finally, it's a spirit of competition, and that we never want anybody to think we don't want to win. Winning matters. The scoreboard matters. Competition matters. And so we define the Texas Way, competition, as giving the best of yourself to help your team be in the best position to win, but to never sacrifice your character to do so. And so with that as kind of the boundary or the specific language that we use, we had some great support from organizations across the country. Mammoth Sports Construction has made this completely free for every school in the state of Texas.
That's fabulous.
So it's been a great partnership.
And so it's been a year, right, since you launched the Texas Way. Give us a report card. How do we do in year one?
So we have 45% of school districts across the state of Texas have signed up for the Texas Way and are participating. So that represents a significant chunk. We thought 25 or 30% year one. We're doing pretty good. 45% have signed up for the Texas Way. We've seen a 12% decrease in football ejections in middle school and in high school combined. If we take middle school out of that number goes up. And so we saw a significant reduction in player ejections in football. In volleyball, we saw a 42% reduction in fan ejections. And in water polo, we saw a 26% reduction in player ejections.
Oh, wow.
So across the fall sports, we're seeing a great trend of reduction in ejections and an increase in the quality of sportsmanship. So we're really, really pleased with that. Now, the stunning fact is that 93% of all ejections that happen at the high school level, fall of 24, came from schools that have not participated in the Texas Way.
Oh, wow.
93%. And so, I think the idea is that when a coach is willing to participate in the Texas Way, they're also doing other things. And if we struggle to find time to do things like the Texas Way, we probably also struggle to find time to do things like character and leadership development, culture building, and things like that. Now, that's not to say that those 55% are bad districts or bad coaches. Not at all. What has been placed on the shoulders of coaches today is unparalleled. And so we are going to continue the work of trying to make it even easier for coaches to get an on-ramp into this work so that we can support them more, equip them more, and help them do this.
You mentioned to me earlier that kind of one of the next steps is that you are signing up officials on this, and you're partnering with the Texas Association of Sports Officials. I'm fascinated by it. Can you tell me a little bit more about why? Like the officials seem like they're on the other side of this, and they're protect us,
Right. So, a couple things are at play. Number one, we know that we're in an officials shortage. That is a major threat to the game. Number two, we know that officials get the blame more than any other group.
Oh yeah.
When you say why are there so many ejections? Why are sportsmanship bad? Well, we've got young, untrained officials. That's what people want to say. And it's funny how the boogeyman for bad sportsmanship never looks like the person in the mirror. It is always someone else. And who's the easiest boogeyman of all?
The guy in stripes.
The guy in the stripes. And so we said, okay, we've got a shortage. We need to lower the average age of officials, but why would anybody want to get in? So they're going to sit here and get yelled at. But what I'm so proud of is Mike Fitch and Tasso, they said, we want to be a part of the solution. We don't need to be defended. We want to be a part of making this thing better. And so we created an officials course just for Tasso officials to go through and to learn what it means to officiate with the 3 pillars of the Texas Way in mind. Think of it as preventative officiating. And then for them to have the same language that coaches and players have. And so what we saw in football, for example, was a crew would show up and on their name, and folks may not realize this, but when an official's crew shows up, they're introducing themselves to the coaches. They give them a card that has all their names on it. And what we begin to see was that officials would put on the back of their card, we're Texas Way certified officiating crew. And so they would ask, coach, have you all done the Texas Way? And they would say, yes. Okay, we're going to use this language throughout the game to remind one another, hey, that's not the Texas Way, and to help preventively guide the game into good sportsmanship. Over 4,000 officials, Tepper, have gone through that course. And it's about an hour-long course. They have to take a test, and they've gone through it, over 4,000 officials, and we are adding more every day with baseball and softball on the horizon. And so it's been a phenomenal response from Tasso. Great leadership by Mike Fitch, the executive director there.
That's terrific. It's Stephen Mackey here with 2 words. And last question for you, and this is something I've wanted to ask you for years, and finally I've built up the courage for you. You've got one of the best beards in the business. And I just want to know, for me, as somebody who can't do it, in an average week, how much time goes into beard management?
Well, just put it this way. All the time you spend on the hair on the top of your head, I spend on the hair on my face.
Okay. So 6 hours a week.
Yeah, it's significant. It's an investment. I mean, we've got the beard balm and the oil.
Yeah.
We got the conditioner and the whole shower process, and we got to brush it out, put in a little Viking pony every night.
Yeah.
Not very, it's a select
It's a process.
It's a process.
This doesn't happen naturally, folks.
Not at all.
No. You don't roll out of bed with this.
No, you can't look like this.
No, this is
without some work.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff. There's something like our powers combined, like this and this, unstoppable. I mean, we got the Ryla connection. That's absolutely,
we made the Ryla happen.
That's right. Yeah. See, I'm wearing the wristband and everything.
So
Stephen,
big connection.
Stephen Mackey, appreciate you, dude.
Yes,
good
sir.
to see
Appreciate you, brother.
I'm sure we'll see you around more than you want.
Not enough.
Okay.
I don't get enough of you guys on the podcast. I don't get enough of you on YouTube. I certainly don't get enough of you in person. So
I appreciate
all you
dude.
do for coaches and kids.
Good to see you, pal.
Yeah.
Good to see you. Stephen Mackey. There he goes. He's probably off to go speak on stage again. There he goes. Stephen Mackey, our friend from 2 Words. Appreciate him hopping on with us. We are Texas Football Today. We're here Mondays and Thursdays on TexasFootball.com, talking football in the Lone Star State. You can follow us on Twitter at DCTF, like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, Instagram.com/Dave Campbell's, and of course, see us at TexasFootball.com. TexasFootball.com is where you can find complete coverage of high school football, college football, and recruiting all across the Lone Star State. Hope you'll consider going to TexasFootball.com/subscribe to become a Dave Campbell's Texas Football subscriber. A lot of good stuff there. Got a bunch of good stuff on TexasFootball.com right now, including a ton of breaking news right now on TexasFootball.com. Coaching news across the state. UTSA's hired a running backs coach. We've got the scoop on that. Yeah, come on, dude. Got the scoop on that. All sorts of good stuff on TexasFootball.com if you go check that out. We've got a star-studded lineup here at the THSCA Leadership Summit here in Arlington. We got guests running in, putting on headsets, trying to figure out headsets. He's a coach. Just can't figure out a headset. That feels
oddities.
Yeah. We're joined by the head coach of the North Forney Falcons. Is our friend Marcus Shavers. Coach, how are you, my friend?
Doing well. How are you doing?
I ran out there and I was like, I got to book one more guest. Pickle was on me.
Yeah.
You know how she is. Mm-hmm. She was on me. She's like, you got to book another guest.
I was like, I want a big name hitter here.
I was like,
okay, don't miss.
Exactly.
Don't screw this up.
And I came back and I said, I found Marcus Shavers. And your reaction was?
It's the only thing you've ever done right.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I'm a fan.
What's up,
Pickle.
man?
What's
yeah,
up?
correct.
You were telling me earlier that you were at the very first. You spoke at the very first THSCA Leadership Summit.
I think it was the first.
Yeah.
The first one I remember. But yeah, I spoke here before, and it was awesome. Great experience.
Did you? I mean, I can't imagine that you would ever think that it would look something like this, because like I'm walking out there and I'm like, the crowd that they've got out there, and it is a remarkable event now that has just exploded in popularity, and the crowd out there is absolutely how much has it grown since you were up on stage?
I don't know. It was a pretty big deal the year that I did it. I felt like the crowd was big. Obviously, it's grown, but I think the biggest thing is that just you take a lot of stuff that you can use from this day. Like everything, every speaker, I don't know if it's intentional or not, but they bring things that you can go apply and fairly easy. And so it's a really good event.
We were talking with Clint Hartman from Midland Legacy earlier, who spoke earlier today, and we mentioned how this is clinic season. A lot of clinics going on, and you can learn how to run a blitz package out of a 3-4 and stuff like that. But here, it's like you're focusing on the other 98% of your job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm just curious, from your perspective as a guy who's been a coach for quite a while, what you're hoping to take from events like this.
Man, it's a leadership summit, and so finding ways in our profession to help coaches, first of all, become better leaders, coordinators, assistants, and then find tools and resources to help our kids become better leaders. And that's the deal. I mean, we always hear it that player-led football teams are the best football teams, and I got to find a way to get our football team to be more player-led. And there's some good stuff. There's some people here that are really good at it. So. All
right, I want to go back to last year, to 2024, and I want to do what all coaches love to do, which is talk about losses. I want to go back to the first. You guys.
This is why I'm his favorite. You make it too easy.
No. I promise this is going someplace good.
This is good.
I promise it's someplace good.
Take it bad.
Y'all started 0-2.
Yes.
You started 0-2. In your first year there at North Forney, y'all then rattled off. Ended up finishing with an 8-4 record. So y'all turned it around quickly. What was the conversation like at 0-2 that then turned this thing around, that turned you guys into a team that you did not want to see across the field by the time that you got to week 5 or 6?
Perspective. I think that it was important for our kids to keep our process in perspective. Like, we want to win all the games. I want to win them all too, but the point of non-district play is getting ready for district play. And so I needed our kids to know, look, what we're doing right now, even though we ain't winning them, we're learning some valuable lessons that are going to help us when we get into district play. When those guys saw the progress, even though we didn't win, the result didn't change, but they saw process from week 1 to week 2, week 2 to week 3, then we finally got a win, and then that validates everything that you're talking about. And so having to have those guys keep it in perspective was just a real big deal. And it's a strain. I mean, it's a strain. You're trying to get that trust, and they hadn't had any success under you. And so we had to keep things in perspective and know that we're building up with a bigger end goal in mind.
Because I have to imagine that's a challenge for you. As you know, you're the new guy in the room. You're the new guy. And here you are, sitting there at 0-2, and they're like, this guy,
slap.
Yeah, exactly right. This guy doesn't know what he's doing. Whereas you're like, all right, I know ball.
Yeah.
I know we're going to get this thing turned around, but they don't know that. And so I have to imagine that was a real challenge for you to just keep the train on the tracks there during that early period.
Yeah, it's tough. And then you got to start really redefining success on a day-to-day basis. You got to find ways, even though at 0-2, find ways to celebrate what's actually going right with the football team. And we had a lot of things going right even when we weren't winning. So when we started highlighting those things and improving on those things, it helps us.
All right, let me ask you about a guy that I'm sure you get asked about a lot. QB1?
Uh-oh.
About Legend?
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about Legend Bay.
Yeah.
Your leading passer, your leading rusher. I don't know if he stirs the Gatorade. I don't know what he does. But it seemed like every time we were flipping on North Forney highlights, it's a snootful Legend Bay. The numbers are impressive, but you're the guy who sees him every day in practice and stuff like that. What is it about this young man, your quarterback, that makes him special?
He's just God-gifted ability. Mm-hmm. He's probably one of the most explosive athletes that I've been around, a strong kid with just God-given ability and talent, loves to compete in the game of football, and that separates him. He's got a chance to be, if not one of the best athletes, I think, to ever play Texas high school football, depending on how he goes out and finishes. And he's electric. He's a guy that, Ohio State, Notre Dame, who've never seen him run a route in a football game, say, hey, you can come to our school and play the wide receiver position. That don't happen all the time. And so he's an athlete, plays a quarterback position, can do a lot of different things, but that's his biggest thing that he brings to the table, this God-given ability. He's growing in so many areas as a leader, as a guy that's showing up every day, growing.
Right. So you got QB1. I want to put him to the side for a minute. What besides him has you really fired up about this 2025 Falcons team?
What we're going to be able to be up front.
Okay.
Our O-line and D-line, although young on the offensive line, we got some big, strong kids. They'll be well coached. But to win in this league, you got to be able to go play with people up front that have big humans. And we have some size. We have some guys. And any team that I've been on that's been any good, we've been led by the guys up front. So I'm really excited about the progress of the guys in the trenches so far.
And finally for you, this is a second year for you there at North Forney. How important for you is it to just have a normal, I don't want to say boring, but just a normal put one foot in front of the other off season with your guys, that they know what to expect, they know who's going to be in the corner office, they know the expectation. How important is that for you and the program you're hoping to build there?
It's huge. Yeah. It's huge. It needs some stability. We have players in our program that need stability, and so we have that going on right now. It's a big deal for us to have an opportunity for a long span of time to be able to put our culture out there and to build that culture. People say, well, you didn't have an off season, so you didn't get a chance to really build culture. Well, that's not true. You build culture every day. But when you're coming into our district and you got to play programs with established cultures, right? Like Rockwall, like Longview, like Rockwall Heath, like Forney, teams that have established cultures, and you haven't really established yours, it gives us an opportunity to really do that, to really put one foot in front of the other and then live that out over a longer span of time and then go compete against them and see what it's about.
He's Marcus Shavers. He's our big hitter.
The big hitter.
That's why we go out there.
The biggest
hitter. The biggest hitter. The North Forney Falcons. Coach, appreciate your time, my friend. Appreciate you taking some time.
Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely.
Ashley, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Anytime.
All right. Okay.
Literally anytime.
All right. That's the end of the show. That's going to do it for us. Thanks for spending a little bit of your day with us. Follow us on Twitter at DCTF. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, instagram.com/Dave Campbell's. And, of course, see us at texasfootball.com. Thanks to the Texas High School Coaches Association for their hospitality here at the THSCA Leadership Summit here in Arlington. And thanks to Clint Hartman, Stephen Mackey, and a guest to Marcus Shavers for being our guests. For Ashley Pickle, I'm Greg Tepper. Vince Young, please meet your Player of the Year trophy. It's in our office in Louisville. We will see you Thursday on Texas Football Today.